everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Brett, and this is going to be all about my adventure in going to an EV, buying an EV vehicle here in Costa Rica. As you can see, I live in the central Pacific coast of Costa Rica and been here for about 3 years. I've been living in Central America since 2013, and it's to the point where I need to get a new vehicle, and for me it's been a real challenge finding something that I can use and that will function for my daily life. But my hope is maybe I can make it work with an EV. So today I'm going to explore a little bit about the different cars that are available here and kind of the challenges that I'm facing, and see if anything could make sense. That's the real point at this point, is trying to figure out, is this a crazy idea? Can I actually make this work? So the first thing is how this all got started. I currently drive a 2002 Mitsubishi Montero. I bought it used just about 2.5 years ago. As you can see, I actually just went over 200,000 miles. In fact, we passed that threshold as we were driving to San Jose to look at cars. I've been in the process now since probably December, it's now June, of trying to buy a vehicle, and more importantly trying to buy a vehicle with a loan from a bank or through a bank, through leasing or purchase. That's really been the biggest challenge we've had, is cars are very expensive in Costa Rica, and with my business, my biggest challenge is I need expenses, and going out and buying a vehicle, a used vehicle, paying cash, I really don't see a lot of benefits from a tax point of view with that. And so I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to buy a new vehicle, do I just go and buy another $15,000-$20,000 car, which we'll get into that a little bit later, or do I buy something new and lease it, get the advantages of the tax benefit, but more importantly the advantages of not having a used vehicle that's constantly breaking down. My average repair bill is starting to go up and up and up, and there's more and more things going wrong, and it's taken away from my ability to do my day job. So this is a lot of thought has gone into this and where we are today. But let's start first with the different vehicles that I'm thinking of. So how all this started was, like I said, back in December, we went into a car dealership and started looking, and at that point it was a Chevy Trailblazer. I guess this is kind of common right now. There's a lot of cars that are, or dealers and manufacturers that don't have vehicles, and it's the same here in Costa Rica. The most popular vehicle in Costa Rica is a Toyota. It's the Toyota Hilux, the Toyota Prado. Those two vehicles are the most common. Then you have the Fortuner. The joke is you can buy any car you want in Costa Rica as long as it's a Toyota, because that's what everyone owns, especially in the zone like this, where you've got lots of dirt roads, and the terrain is really challenging. And sometimes I'm on very slick, muddy roads even to show properties. So all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, high clearance vehicles are really critical here. So we went through the whole process, and we had a new Mitsubishi Montero under contract, and it just kept dragging on. And one day we ran into, we were at the mall and we saw this vehicle, the BYD. And BYD is a Chinese manufacturer, big battery manufacturer. They have a proprietary battery technology, and they have released the BYD Tang in Costa Rica. And so that was the first kind of thought where I actually thought maybe this would work. It's an SUV, it's all-wheel drive, and we went for a test drive. So here's some videos of us seeing it at the mall, and we later took it for a test drive, drove it around. There's some really cool features with the screen that rotates. I could see it from a business standpoint, being able to have web pages going up. It looked great. Seemed like everything was going to work out. But they want $88,000 for a Chinese-made SUV that I have never heard of before this day, and it just didn't seem like it was making sense. So going back to why we're even considering cars in that price range is cars in general are expensive here. There's a big import tax on vehicles. On the other side of that, vehicles hold their value. So you might look at some used vehicles that are, 3, 5, 6 years old, and they're still going for tens of thousands of dollars because the vehicles in general hold their value. So there's a lot of import tax. Now, what I found out during this whole process is EVs, and in particular, when we're talking about the Audi e-tron, there's apparently some discounts coming from the government. So the cost of importing that vehicle is actually less. There's some advantages when you go and get your registrations every year. You get some discounts. So all of a sudden, when we started going and looking, the Audi e-tron actually might be feasible from a financial standpoint. The cost of a brand new Audi e-tron was only a few $1,000s more than the Mitsubishi Montero Sport. They have different levels of the Montero Sport, but essentially the Montero Sports start in the high 50s into the 60s, and on a monthly basis for the lease, for $100 or $200 more, I could get this Audi e-tron. And right now, the biggest issue is I'm spending $400 to $500 a month in gas. I do drive a lot. It's a V6, so it's a US model Montero, so I'm driving a lot. So switching to a diesel would bring that down. But the big kicker is there are charging points being put in all over Costa Rica, and they're not charging any fees. So that gas bill, regardless of what I'm paying now or what I'm paying with a new diesel vehicle, that would be one less cost. That's another thing in the plus side here. Still a crazy idea. That's just the financial thing that we're having to get over and justify. Owning a vehicle is great. You think, okay, well, I don't have any car payments, but at this point, any used vehicle, I'm going to have gas, and then I'm going to have repair bills. And Costa Rica is just tough on vehicles. We've been looking. We bought this car. It was just imported from the States. It was a 2002, and I paid $8,500 for it. And I've been looking for other used vehicles, similar used vehicles, and even something that's newer. I was looking at a 2013 Montero, and it just had a lot of gremlins. Even being only 7 years old, I was looking at downgrading, essentially, having a less comfortable vehicle and still possibly having reliability issues. And the big thing with used vehicles is it's a cash payout. It's not like in the States where you can get a loan on a used vehicle at these low interest rates. If I could get financing on a used vehicle, it's a very high interest rate, and my monthly expense wasn't going to be much less than leasing a new vehicle. So it just keeps bouncing back that it's going to be an expensive adventure regardless of which way I go. Used vehicle or new vehicle, but the advantages of a new vehicle is I know what I'm getting, warranties, maintenance, all that kind of stuff being included. So that's how we kind of got there from a financial standpoint. And we're still not 100% sure if it's going to work out. We're still in the process of getting approved for this lease and everything else. It's complicated because of residency and all these other things, but we won't get into that. All right, so a little bit of a update. We went and drove the Audi, the e-tron. love the car. I mean, it's an Audi. It's fantastic. It rode great. We, of course, didn't get to test it on the type of roads that I would like to test it on. We didn't get to drive it on some dirt roads. But it felt pretty good. The biggest concern we have right now is the price. Believe it or not, I think it's actually less expensive than it is in the States. The Model 50 starts at $74,000, but it only has a 330 kilometer range. So I think that's about 205 miles. So let's call it, you know, real world. Have to really look to see what the real world is, because I will be relying on a charger at my office, and if there's an issue with that charger, you know, I don't have a lot of options close by. But it's $15,000 more for the longer range version. So that's a big step up, you know. It has more power and all this other stuff, which I really could care less. I don't need more power. I don't need more speed. I just need it to function and function for long periods of time. So that's where we're at. We went and looked at the BYD again, the Tang, which, you know, there's a lot of nice features. The screen has internet access, so I could be showing the next properties I'm going to, things like that. Just having a real hard time understanding if that's going to be a car that can function at all. At least the Audi, I've seen some videos, I've seen some examples of it out 4x4 and out in some treacherous roads. Still probably going to need to change the tires, and that'll actually affect the range kind of negatively, because we're going to need to put some thicker tires, some bigger tires on it in order for it to work. So that's going to shorten our range. I'll have to think about. We'll have to see if this is going to work out or not.